Brr, you feel that? It's the ice-cold breeze, not from the winter season. Oh no, this chill weather is thanks to the presence of the Kuuderes, the coolest of the dere-archetypes. If there is any dere-archetype that rivals the tsundere in terms of usage in anime and manga media, it's definitely the icy kings and queens of the dere roster. Of the dere types, the Kuuderes are by far the most distinctive in terms of appearance and behavior. You can usually pinpoint them by how uninterested they are in the situation at hand, but you know, that just adds to their charm. The term Kuudere is a word blend that directly defines the archetype. It combines two words, kuru, which is the Japanese transliteration of the English word cool, and refers to the character's detached, stoic, or unemotional exterior. This is paired with dere-dere, which means lovey-dovey or gushing, representing the hidden, tender, and intensely caring side the character rarely reveals. The term itself gained popularity in the 2000s, solidifying the Kuudere as a recognized type alongside the tsundere. The cultural appreciation for the Kuudere's composed nature is deeply rooted in Japanese aesthetics, like the concept of iki, an Edo period ideal that praises behavior that is stylish, sophisticated, and characterized by a subtle, indirect display of passion, often masked by an aloof exterior. Furthermore, the cultural value of gaman, meaning enduring with patience and dignity, explains why characters who repress their emotions for the sake of duty or survival are often revered. The early 2000s saw the rise of the internet term "sunao-cool," or honest cool. This archetype describes characters who express their affection in a blunt, direct manner. It serves as the primary framework for the Kuudere, a reserved and distant girl who reveals her vulnerable sides without any sugarcoating. She provides the cake and nothing else. Maybe a little icing and sprinkles here and there. From a Western perspective, the Kuudere's impassive exterior could be said to be a modern take on the classical school of philosophy, Stoicism. Stoicism teaches that the virtue is the only good and that emotions, particularly negative ones, result from errors in judgment. Someone who practices it would therefore be immune to powerful passions, maintaining a calm, logical, and composed demeanor in the face of chaos. The archetype of the reserved and competent figure is a common one in Western media. One prime example is Mr. Spock from Star Trek, whose philosophy dictates the repression of human emotion in favor of logic, making him appear detached, yet he is still one of the most recognizable characters in all of media because of it. Okay, we're done with the boring history lesson now. Since we established the philosophical and psychological framework of the Kuudere, let's discuss their key characteristics. In terms of appearance, there aren't any hard rules or criteria to fashion the Kuudere, as the concept is more of a behavior rather than an appearance. However, a common trend to give the audience a hint that a character is Kuudere is usually to give them white hair. White in general is symbolic of purity, blankness, or allegories to winter and snow, perfectly encapsulating what a Kuudere is anyway. Of course, it helps to give them their signature deadpan look as well. In terms of behavior, there are some main staples of the Kuudere that are consistent across the archetype. They are usually socially distant, saying as few words as they can, and when they do speak, they are either really blunt or lack social cues to make them even more foreign and distant. They are also really lax characters, speaking in their signature monotone voice and composing themselves in a mellow demeanor to show how nonchalant their personality is. Their specific brand of cool usually manifests in one of three ways. Either they are hyper-focused and deadly serious about the task at hand, they are so skilled that they find no reason to treat a situation with urgency, or they are simply so chill that the high-stakes drama around them barely registers as a blip on their radar. Lastly, since these characters aren't great at using words, their best tool in their arsenal is using actions to display their emotions and affection. As far as backstories goes as to why they are so chill and nonchalant, Kuuderes have an assortment to choose from. Maybe it's through a traumatic past where it eventually became a personality trait to help them cope, or it could be an occupational thing where it's required to be so cool and composed at all times, such as being a maid, spy work, espionage work, assassins, or even more dangerous, an office worker. Another possible reason for their coolness is maybe because the character isn't human at all, and is probably trying to figure out human social conventions in their own way. More on that later. Narratively speaking, in many dere-casted series, the Kudere is a staple that often appears within these stories, alongside the hot and feisty tsundere to help balance out the roster. But in other genres like a fantasy adventure series, the Kudere character fill the role of the mysterious type, since they are already coded to be very composed and nonchalant anyways, so they might as well use something the audience is familiar with. The typical Kudere character arc involves gaining clarity on human emotion. This might mean overcoming social barriers for a love interest, or conversely, finding affirmation in their stoic nature. Regardless of the path, the ultimate goal remains the same. The other characters, and by the extension the audience, receive a rare human moment as a reward for their patience and trust.
まだあるのもう良くない？大丈夫じゃない？
いえ、最後に一つだけ言っておかないと。あなたが好きよ、引き金くん。
Going back to the non-human angle, another common usage of the Kudere type is to make the character something not so human, like a robot, android, alien, monster, or whatever entity you find fascinating. Making these characters a Kudere is a sort of kill two birds with one stone type of situation, because you can easily write these characters as outsiders trying to grasp human conventions. It makes their struggle to connect both relatable and empathetic. They must overcome not only social barriers, but their own fundamental nature to reach out to others as well. A final point to make on narrative usage of Kuderes is the difference between Kuderes and Danderes. These two are often conflated to be the same thing and mistaken to be interchangeable, whereas that is not entirely true. There is nuance to be had here. Kuderes operate on being the cool and low-key one, being distant and dismissive in their nature. Danderes, on the other hand, are a lot more shy and reserved, creating that awkward distance because they are too anxious to engage with other characters, thus coming off as distant as well, but not in the same manner as how Kuderes are. One is dismissive and subdued, while the other is too paralyzed by their social anxiety. A good example of this is Homer Akemi from Puella Magi Madoka Magica. In her original incarnation, she was the Dandere type, very shy and awkward, only coming out once Madoka showed her what kindness was. It wasn't until a buttload of trauma and misery later that she became a battle-hardened Kudere type, putting up that emotional barrier so she can never get hurt again, both emotionally and mentally, allowing her to focus on her goals without hesitation. This one character showcases the perfect dichotomy between Danderes and Kuderes. Now, it isn't a Kudere video without mentioning the trio that started it all. These girls are often referred to as the holy trinity of Kudere characters, who popularized, codified, and solidified the trope we see today. We start off with Rei Ayanami from Evangelion, an artificially created human who has a mysterious air to her, and thus adding more intrigue in an already convoluted show. Next we have Yuki Nagato from the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, taking the robotic monotone mannerisms to the extreme, because she is a foreign alien in this world. Finally, we have Kanade Tachibane from Angel Beats, and my personal favorite. She is the titular angel who carries out her mission in cold deliverance, but eventually opens up more to the protagonist to showcase her dere side. Don't think females are the only ones allowed to be Kudere. We have some popular examples of male Kuderes who exemplify all the characteristics and qualities we discussed before. Examples include Sasuke from Naruto, Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan, Yu Tomioka from Demon Slayer, Hirotaka from Wotakoi, and Akito Yamada from Yamada-kun to level 999. It isn't a coincidence that these characters are foils or Lancer characters to the protagonists of their respective series, and this is by design. It is because it's a familiar yet effective dynamic just to have opposites work together. In these cases, you have the emotionally heated protagonist juxtaposed to the subdued foil character, making it easy to write engaging dynamics. Male Kuderes appeal inherits a lot of what makes female Kuderes work, but with some additional icing on them. For a lot of male Kuderes, their appeal is not only how stoic and composed they are, but also how they bring a sense of security, reliability, and an added layer of mysteriousness, which adds to their aura factor. Women love this archetype, and it's no surprise that it has been seeing rising promise not just in anime, but in romance novels and games as well. The Kuudere persist because they are the perfect inversion of the popular tsundere archetype. We are fascinated by their mystery and the cathartic payoff of seeing their defenses crumble. When a reserved character finally opens up, it feels earned and genuinely endearing. Plus, their unobtrusive and laid-back demeanor creates a stable, low-pressure environment that makes them surprisingly approachable. The Kuudere remains timeless because the cool and stoic archetype works in any genre. We are drawn to those who stay calm under pressure with a mysterious air to them. When they show vulnerability, it highlights their nuance and rewards the audience for following their journey, emphasizing the trust and companionship earned by them. And this is why Kuuderes are my favorite archetype of the dere roster. It's because by their nature, Kuuderes will always be cool and comforting by just being so chill about everything. And it's exactly my type of vibe. Thanks for listening to a Weeb Talk. This concludes my videos on the big 3 dere archetypes. Let me know who your favorite Kuudere is in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!